Hi, I'm Alistair, one of the technical support team here at Genius Hub. We thought we'd put together some videos for you, for installers and for customers, that is, just to help understand how to design a system. So when it's difficult to get into people's homes for our installers, for example, we thought that actually we can probably provide you some really good tools to understand more about how the Genius Hub can work in your home. So the Genius Hub is really modular. That makes it very easy to be compatible for pretty much every heating system out there. So it doesn't matter what you've got, it's very likely that the Genius Hub will be able to help. This video is about controlling underfloor heating. So we've got other videos about controlling electric heating and also controlling radiators. This one specifically talks about wet underfloor heating. So let's get started going through some of the details. So as we covered in other videos, you can see here, this is a simple system controlling all of the radiators in one go. It's very easy for the system to link and control radiators if you've got those upstairs with underfloor heating, let's say downstairs. So when we go through the create your system later, you'll see how the system can easily manage both in one system. That makes the system really easy for you to understand, and it also makes it really easy for you to control. A lot of the other systems on the market, it becomes a bit more difficult if you're trying to mix a system that's controlling radiators and underfloor heating all in one go. For us, that's just something that we do automatically. So here we can see a very basic underfloor heating setup. So if I just go through this schematic, all of these schematics, by the way, are available on the support page on our website if you go under technical documentation. So this diagram here shows you three electric switches. Those are the ones marked 1 there on the left, and they're wired to your existing wiring center. So if you already have underfloor heating, it's likely you don't need to chuck really very little of it away. You can still use a Genius Hub to control it. We can also provide you with a wiring center should you need it, but essentially there you've got 3 electric switches controlling 3 individual zones of underfloor heating. Now inside the room we need something to be able to measure the temperature, and that's what's great about Genius Hub, is the fact that it's wireless. So whereas those electric switches there on the left would be located next to your wiring center and they'd be wired onto your wiring center, the bits in the rooms are wireless, and therefore we've got an example of a wireless room thermostat. That's number 3 there. Number 4 there is a wireless room sensor. So I just run through the differences between the two. So the wireless room thermostat has a screen on it, as you can see there with number 3, and essentially that means you can see the temperature in the room by physically walking up and looking at it. Obviously you can see it on the app as well, but it gives you something in the room that you can see the temperature. Number 4 there is our room sensor. So that's a different device. That's also battery powered, also wireless. Now that essentially just measures the temperature in the room. Now by measuring the temperature, it means that you can see the temperature clearly on the app, but there are no buttons on it, which means if you want something that you can interact with by walking up to, then the room sensor is not the device for you. An advantage of the room sensor though is that it can detect occupancy. So if this is a room which you only use it on certain days of the week, then that's perfect for this room sensor, because it will hold a warmer temperature the days that you use it, and then if you don't use it on other days, that room in particular, then the room sensor will allow it to cool down to a different temperature for you. So we've got 3 zones there, the kitchen, lounge and the hallway, and it doesn't really matter which device you put in. You can even put both devices if you really want to into a room, but essentially you need something in the room to measure the temperature, and then you've got your electric switch there wired to the wiring center, so that bit does the control. Last thing on this drawing here is the Genius Hub number 2 there. That means then you can connect the whole lot to the internet. So if you've got 3 zones of underfloor heating in your house, then all those components you can see there is all that you need to get started. Now this one may look a little bit more complicated, but that's because this is probably quite a complicated house. This has a mixture of underfloor heating, and also it has radiators, and we're providing control of each one of the radiators in this drawing. So if I just go through from left to right so you can see everything that's on here. So This house has a hot water tank, and we've got on-off control of that hot water tank. That's why we've got a single channel receiver there marked as number 1, controlling the zone valve, which is controlling the hot water tank. This house also has upstairs and downstairs zone valves as well. So if it is plumbed more recently, this is a common feature of modern homes. So we're providing a dual channel receiver to control those 2 zone valves, which means the upstairs plumbing will only become on when you've got one of the upstairs rooms calling for heat. And you can see there we've got 2 radiators we're controlling upstairs, the 2 bedrooms, but the bathroom radiator is what's called a dump, in the sense that just gets warm whenever any of the upstairs rooms turn on. Likewise with downstairs, that's also being controlled by the dual channel receiver on the other zone valve, and the kitchen and the lounge, for example, if they're calling on, then the dual channel receiver will then turn on. As I said, this has a mixture of underfloor heating and radiators. So on the right of this, you can see we've got an electric switch there controlling a pump on a manifold. So this is only one zone of underfloor heating shown here. We can control more than one zone, that's very easy, but that's just what we're showing here is one zone of underfloor heating. You've got an electric switch controlling the pump, and then you've got something in the room which is measuring the temperature. We've shown it here as a room sensor, but as you'll have seen previously, we can also use a thermostat to measure the temperature in a room. What's neat about the Genius Hub is you don't need to run any cables from this manifold back to the boiler. That can all be done wirelessly, and I'll run through that when we go through the Create Your System. So this is a mixed system again, where we now have multiple zones of underfloor heating. We've branded this with JK as they're our partners for a very good system for underfloor heating. This is a common installation for them. So what we've got here is radiators upstairs and underfloor heating downstairs. So if we go through these components again, so we've got a single channel receiver controlling our boiler. So that brings the boiler on whenever anything is calling for heat. No cables need to be run to the boiler apart from the single channel receiver. So you don't have to run cables through your house if you need to control your boiler. That's great about the Genius Hub. Upstairs, we're controlling that with an electric switch. That's controlling the zone valve wherever that is in your house, which is isolating the upstairs radiators. Again, we've shown some radiator valves here. So you've got our smart radiator valves controlling those 2 bedrooms. And again, the bathroom there is a dump radiator. Downstairs, we've got all underfloor heating. So very similar here. We've got 3 electric switches. They're actually controlling a wiring center. So like I said, we can provide the wiring center if you need it, if you don't have one already. And this is a new installation of underfloor heating. And then again, in the rooms, you need something to measure the temperature. So here we're using the room thermostat, number 6 there in the kitchen. In the lounge, we're using a room sensor. And then in the hall, we're using a room thermostat again. So great news, you don't need to run any cables from the rooms back to your manifold. That can all be done wirelessly. And also you don't need to run any cables from your manifold to your boiler. Again, that can all be done wirelessly with the setup we've shown here. So if we imagine that you've already got an underfloor heating system and you need to check whether it's compatible, simply go to our website, geniushub.co.uk, click on the support and then user technical portal here. That takes you to this page I'm on here, and you can see you've got a compatibility checker for your boiler, so you can check that. Let's focus here on the right hand side on the underfloor heating compatibility checker. So if I click on this button here, I can then type in the underfloor heating that I've got. Let's say I've got a heat miser. There you go. So the heat miser systems are there. So I might have a heat miser UH4, for example. Then that's great because that's compatible. So the Genius Hub can easily control that heat miser UH4 wiring center if that's what you've got. That's good because it means that essentially you're reusing a lot of the stuff that you already have and you don't need to replace it. If you want, we can provide you with a new wiring center. If that's what you need, you just need to let us know.